Hi, I'm Dan Jackman.
I'm Roy Weeks.
We're with Kentuckiana Fly Tyers, and tonight we're going to be teaching you a fly from a Harry Steves book called Foam, Flies, and Feathers. It's a good little read. It has some good flies in it that are easy to tie and very useful, and they come in handy when you're bluegill fishing or even trout fishing. This one's called the UFO, and the reason he called it the UFO was because he had made this fly and hadn't really fished it, put it in his box. They were up in Pennsylvania fishing. Nothing was hitting. He put this on, and believe it or not, he said they started catching fish tremendously. So they just called it the UFO, and they have used it several times since then, he said, and it's really produced for him. It's tied on a Daiichi, or you can use a Tiemco 400T hook. It's actually a swimming nymph type of hook, and you tie it into size all the way from 10 probably down to a 14, he says. And it's an unusual bend, but you're using that particular hook. It's I don't believe Tiemco's making it anymore, but you may be able to find it on eBay or someplace, but Daiichi's making it, and they're 1770 series. You're going to start with the thread right there at the crick of the hook. I'm using black 6/0 thread. I'm going to run it right on back just to the beginning of the bend. I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to run it back up. What I'm going to use is I'm using a piece of foam, 2 millimeter, and what I'm going to do is I cut it in a 1/4 inch strip. This makes a nice body size. I'm also going to put a little cut on the end to make it easy to tie in. And I just like to just capture that front real quick. That'll hold it down. It's up in the air. At this point, I'd like to put just a little bit of super glue right there on the hook. That'll help keep it from spinning. At this time, I hold this and just wrap it all the way back to the beginning of the bend. Just capture it. Go back up. Lay it down. So we have this really tied in nice and secure. What we're going to do now is I'm going to take some bright colored Peacock Herl. This has been dyed bright green. I think it shines a little bit better than some of the other stuff. It's a really got a real good shine to it. Taking about 3-4 pieces. I'm taking the tips, holding them together, and trimming them off. I'm going to tie this in right here at the back where I was. Bring that up. Bring it forward. And stop it right there at the crick. And I'm going to wrap this forward. Now some go ahead and make a little loop, dubbing loop with this, with their thread, which helps strengthens it. I'm not. I'm just going to wrap this up to right where my thread stopped. It makes a nice thick body. At this point, I'm going to tie it off. couple of ties. Now I'm going to cut this off. Basically, you have a nice body. We're going to fold this foam over, but we're not going to pull it tight. We just want it to lay on top, and right there where the thread is where we're coming over the top. We're going to come once, twice, and that'll get the body. And then now you can pull it up a little bit, cut it off, tie down the excess right here. By not pulling this tight and just tying it off and making this loose, it floats better. It won't compress the cells to the point to where the water will make them sink once they're logged. Basically, next I want to put in a couple of strips of Krystal flash. This is take about 3 strands of this. This is pearl. I like to fold it over one time, fold it over twice just to make it a little bit thicker. And then what I'm going to do is I'm taking the end where it's the loop and I'm cutting it off, making that tight, and I'm going to lay it in right there at this tie-in point. Keeping it right there in front. I'm going to lay it back just towards the end of the body, and this should flare up like that. Take this one strand off. And now I'm going to cover this up. There you go. Now, Harry used black rubber legs. You can use whatever color you want. I kind of like these Centipede legs that are speckled yellow. I think it gives it a little bit of color instead of black round legs. What I want to do is take this, fold it around my thread, kind of even the ends of it up. Don't take it right back. Leave it in front just a little bit and rock the thread, lock that thread right over the top of it. Going back. That way the legs will kind of lay in the back out of the way. Take this back up. And then take the other side. Run that around about the same length. Again, leave it up front a little ways. Capture it on the side of the hook. Work your way back. And that way these legs will kind of stay in the back. And now you can tie all that down, secure it. You can trim these off. I'll wait a little later when we get close to the end and tie it off and see how it is. What we're going to do now is take some more of the Peacock that I have laid out here, and we're going to even it up. We're going to tie this in at the tie-in point. Go right back up to the front a little ways and back down, and leave the thread hanging in the groove or the curve of this. Take your Peacock Herl and wrap it, and I'm going to go all the way up to the eye. And then I'm coming back, leaving that thread right there in the center. And then tie this off right there. I'll trim it. Then what we're going to do is take some more of the foam that we have left over, and we're going to tie this in right where the thread was hanging, keeping it tied evenly. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to cut this off to make a little collar out of it. And what we're going to do is go once, then you can whip finish it right there in that groove. I like to put a little cement right there in the center of that groove. Now that you have that done, you can cut your legs to whatever length you really want. A lot of them feel that the longer they are, the more action they show in the water when they're doing this. I like to just shorten them a bit. Then bring this one up. You can stretch them out. Then what you can do is, I use a little magic marker type, and I like to put a little eye on it. That little paint will dry. And you can tie these with different colored legs. You can tie them with solid black. You can change the eye color, but that's basically Harry's UFO pattern, and you ought to give it a try. I think you'll like it. We'd like to thank you for joining us tonight. We'd also like to invite you out to Orvis, the Paddocks on Brownsboro Road, and on the second Thursday of the month, we usually have a fly tying session. We teach fly tying for the beginners, intermediates, basically anybody that really is interested in fly tying. We provide all the equipment. We can get you the vices and all the materials. We'll tie the patterns, and it's free. We'd like to see you come out and join us on that. If you got any questions on it, you can email us at the Kentuckiana Fly Tyers at gmail.com, and we'll be glad to answer them. And with that, we'd like to thank you for joining us tonight.